Hey, it's Anthony Meisner with Land Title. I wanted to bring you our Greater Metro Denver update for the month of July, and this is the big one. So lots of exciting stuff happening here. We're really starting to see inventory finally rise. Some of the surrounding areas have seen inventory rise faster, but Metro has stayed really strong, and that buyer demand is finally starting to curb off a little bit. But we're also at the peak of listing season, so expect that to start to curb here in the next couple of months, and we'll probably eventually by the end of the year start to see inventory fall again. It's very, very seasonal, so I think that's one of the biggest takeaways here. The other thing is pendings are only down by about 6%. Actives are only up by 11% month over month. Yes, are we a big swing from last year? Sure, but I mean, that was the hottest market that Colorado had ever really seen. So lots to unfold here. Let's get into some of the other stuff. One of the biggest things is we're only at 6,800 listings on the market. So this is nothing to be fearful of. It's one of those things where, in 2022, we saw 7,500 active listings. In July of 2022, we're actually still down 8% from there, right? So, I mean, that shift between a couple of years ago and today, we're just kind of getting back to a more of a norm. Now, some of the submarkets are shifting at very different rates. So be mindful of that, right? Whether it's Adams County and year over year it's up 100% in listings, or it's one of the other markets like Arapahoe County, it's only up 57%. So be mindful of where the listings are coming on and what markets are staying hotter than others. So it's something we really need to look into with that local data. And don't forget to reach out if you need the local data. We put that stuff out every month as well. Now, the month supply of inventory is one of those conversations worth having. Balanced market is like 4 to 6 months of inventory. We're here at like 6 weeks of inventory, 1.5 months. That being said, this market is still an incredible seller's market. Is it as strong as last year? No. Is it as strong as earlier this year? No, it's not. We went from 1.5 weeks to 6 weeks of inventory, but that swing is not that big, right? We have a lot more to come before we get anywhere close to a balanced market. The other part of this is the houses are still moving really, really fast if they're in move-in ready shape and you're actually priced appropriately, right? The thing now is you have to be the most cautious about overpricing a home, but if you do price it right, 13 and a half days, we're only talking 2 weeks from active to under contract on average. So that number, even though they call it 35% up, we're talking 3 days. So that being said, kind of take that with a grain of salt, understand where these markets are. Again, some markets are shifting faster than others. Albert's at 22 days, and places like Jefferson are at 12, or Arapahoe's at 11 and a half. So some markets are still moving very, very rapidly. Now, let's take a look at our price point slides. I think this is one where it's absolutely critical to be paying attention to this. Year over year, 2 to 3 million is moving so fast. There's so much inventory that's selling, right? Yes, is there more inventory coming on the market? Absolutely. But that luxury price points are still, they're moving very fast. 22 over 3 million to sell. Now, if you get down into a price point like 4 to 499, those interest rates are hitting people so hard there, and that's where we're starting to feel some of those sales slow down. Are we still having active units? Absolutely. In a lot of those price ranges, it's coming up by 20, 25% in a month, and we're down 50% in total sales. So the buyers are being hit the hardest at the lower price ranges, not at the higher price ranges. Now you can really see it here in our month supply of inventory in days on market by price range. So is the market still moving very fast? Absolutely. I would even argue that 35 days for 3+ million is absolutely amazing. If you can put a $3+ million home under contract in 35 days, you absolutely should be exceeding your client's expectations, because when there's 5 months of inventory and you're putting under contract in a month, I feel like that is absolutely amazing. Now, is it slower than last year? Of course. But it's about reframing those expectations here over time. But the 1 to 2 million range at only 17 days in the MLS, these are still clipping along. So we're still talking about just over 2 weeks there. And that's at 2 months of inventory. So you get into some of those price ranges like 400,000, 500,000. Of course, they're very competitive, and you really have to get out there and have those clients shop when they see active units coming on the market, because there's still only a matter of weeks worth of inventory, and they're going under contract even faster for the good ones. So that being said, hopefully that helps you unpack that and help your clients understand when and where they should be looking and how. Now, the sold units, this is one of those where sold data is all over the board. Are we off of last year? Absolutely we are. But it should be to be expected. If you look at history of data, the 2017, 2018, 2019 years, we're getting closer to those numbers again. We had such high turnover during COVID because everybody had different needs than they had before, almost immediately, from work from home and growing families and all these things, extra divorces, right? Lots of extra stuff that creates that household friction. So now that we're getting back to our new normal, expect that this is where we're going to kind of land. We're seeing the seasonal trends kind of come early. The highest month this year in sales was in May, and usually that isn't until June or something like that. So when we start to see that, we're really just seeing the interest rates start to affect the sales in the marketplace. Now, let's take a look at average sales price. Average sales price is one of those things where, on average, we're up $86,000 over this time last year. The average sales price of a home right now is $776,000, right? It's getting very expensive to live in the metro area for detached housing. Now, certain markets, of course, are cheaper than others. Adams is only at $585, but they're still up 12% over this time last year. Now, other markets, some of the markets that might be performing better, like Arapahoe County, they're up 17%. So definitely watch those submarkets as you're looking into some of the price changes, because we really need to be focused on what markets are transitioning at what rate, because if you're handling a buyer or a listing in those areas, you might have to do it in a completely different way and set very separate expectations. Here's one where I think this is where we're really starting to look at how is the year going to finish off with these higher interest rates. Are we going to see stable sales continue? August should be our real teller here, because there's always a little bit of a lull in July, and then we feel like it picks back up in August. It sure feels like the market's picking back up, but at what pace, right? Is it going to be closer to June numbers, or are we going to really see us off, that 10 to 15% range, which is very possible, like our year-to-date numbers here. So I would expect somewhere around 10% less sales this year than we saw last year, and I mean that obviously is very different by submarket as well. The last thing that I really wanted to talk about was the percentage sold price to list price. We've had bidding wars all year long, and it's gotten really extreme back in April. Now, how fast have they come down? You can see pretty quickly, but we're still at 101% list sale price. In a normal market, something like 2018, 2019, the year peaks at the absolute best month at 101%. So this is still an outstanding seller's market. I think that's one thing you really need to reiterate to your clients. Here's the other part of that, though, is setting expectations that that's going to continue to come down through the fall and into the winter, especially because usually we sit somewhere around that 99, 98% range in the slower months of the year, in the fall and in the winter. So it's going to continue to come down, but at a reasonable level, and hopefully that starts to really help the affordability. You can really see here, if you look at the table on the side, those really, median home buyer price ranges, those 400, 500, 600,000 ranges, that's where there's still a lot of bidding wars, and it's just still because that inventory is moving really fast. It's still super tight, and there's still a lot of buyers out there that are active. The guys that are active are very, very busy. Now, the other part of this is the attached market. The attached market is really mirroring the detached market this year, so you don't necessarily have to have too much of a different conversation, but look at this, 300 to 399, the average sales price was the highest at 101.5%. So that market is still super competitive at the lower price ranges. You're seeing that a little bit higher in the detached market. So definitely be mindful of what price range and what product type you're looking at. I'm Anthony at Land Title. I'll catch you on the next one.